WARG marauders. What else to say about these amazing Moria units? Hard-hitting, high-mobility goblins mounted on a vicious warg. These guys are really awesome, but unfortunately Games Workshop doesn't produce them anymore. Luckily, we can easily convert them starting with white wargs and a set of plastic goblins, and now I will show you how. Here you can see the final result. So we have a wild warg mounted in a different pose, and on top of it there are 3 goblins. The first one is armed with sword and shield, and the other 2 are armed with bows, so we need 2 archers and 1 warrior for each warg. We also need a variety of tools, and you can see here all of them. The tools that we need are a cutter, a hand drill, some paper clips to pin the model. Obviously we need the miniatures, so here are the wild wargs and the plastic goblins. You can easily buy these off eBay, and they are really cheap and easy to find. We also need some Greenstuff to fill the gaps that we will cut into the model, some tools to sculpt, some files, and we also need some glue. I suggest you to use either super glue or plastic cement, but I prefer to use both. The first thing we need to do is to take the plastic wargs and cut them in half. I also cut off the head of the wargs, and we need to do this to reposition the warg in a way that we like. I also do this to fit the 3 goblins on top in a more dynamic pose, and I also found that with the regular poses it's difficult to get all the 3 goblins on top of the warg without putting them in a weird way. So I like to do this additional step, but it is optional. Be careful when you try to cut the warg, and after you do that, just glue the 2 sides of the miniature together. So now you should have a front part and a rear part of the warg. Now that we have divided the miniature in 3 parts, we need to connect them using a piece of sprue and some super glue. I add some baking soda directly on top of the glue to make a quicker and stronger bond between the 2 parts. In a similar manner, we can attach the head to the body. For this particular mini, I opted for a jumping pose, so I decided to reposition 1 leg. To do this, we can just use the hand drill on both parts, and with the help of a paper clip as a pin and some glue, you can do it easily. Now that we have finished the structure of the 2 wargs, we need to fill the gaps and sculpt back the fur texture. To do so, we will use some Greenstuff, which is a 2 parts resin, but you can also use milliput. If you don't know these products, I highly suggest you to check them out, since they are a very useful and reliable tool. Wet your hands and mix up the yellow part with the blue part until it turns completely green. Now you can use this resin to fill up the gaps in the mini, and we will sculpt the fur back later once it sets for at least 10 to 20 minutes. Now, with the pointy tool, engrave back the fur onto the Greenstuff, following the existing texture and copying the existing pattern. It's not as difficult as it seems, and after you're done with it, just let it set for 10 to 20 hours. It really should harden sooner, but I just want to be sure, so I just check it the day after. Now it's time to take the plastic goblins and change the poses if you want, and maybe add some elements using the Greenstuff. Here you can see some examples of the goblins I made. Now the last thing to do is to check if the goblins sit in place on top of the warg. If not, you can still file down the space between their legs to make them fit perfectly. As you can see, now the build is complete. It took me approximately 2 hours of work to make 2 marauders. I hope you enjoyed this guide, and if you do, consider subscribing and leaving a like to support me. Remember that you can ask me anything in the comments below, and do not forget the motto: never stop crafting.